it's time for a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show.
This is our lifestyle show featuring craft, baking, and a little bit of history.
We've got lots of projects to show and one of our special series to share.
What will we feature this time, and which of our projects will be our favourite?
Let's get on with the show and find out.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show. And yes, it's time for a stunning crochet blanket.
Oh!
You can't beat a bit of crochet, can you?
Well, not in the moment, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I've been mesmerised by this.
Yeah, I sometimes get really like, oh, I've got to crochet.
We've all been there, Kay.
Yes. Does anyone else get like that? And I had that feeling, and luckily I had something I could crochet.
And what I found myself doing was like reaching out and touching it. And then I do you remember, I sort of pulled away.
Even though you loathe doing crochet.
Yeah, I'm not talking about doing. I'm talking about seeing it, being mesmerised by it.
Very pretty.
Reaching out and touching it and then feeling bad and retract. Do you remember? And you were like, you can touch it. It's totally fine.
It's just wool. I'm not going to hurt it.
So yes, today there will be some crochet talk. And trust me, it's absolutely stunning. Wait until you see it.
Yes.
But that, though, is just the start of the fun because, can you believe it, it's time for the 8th episode of My Perfect Socks.
It is indeed.
And this is a really big one because I think it might be an important colour.
Oh, right, OK. I thought you were going to say what it was, the name of it. Oh, right.
I was just going to say that, unless I'm wrong, isn't this the one that started it all?
Yes, it's a key colourway name, let's say.
And did I catch that right? It was the first one that you did?
It was the first one, yeah. When I dyed up this advent for myself last year, it was the first colour that I dyed up. And I was going to start off with this one, but I explain actually in it why I wanted it in the place that it is now, you know, within the sock.
Does it feel funny coming to it now after it being so long ago? Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I mean, I sort of completely forget how I do things, and I mean, luckily I make notes, because I personally never remember. I'm like, I'll remember. No, I barely remember what I did yesterday.
My Perfect Socks. It's coming later on.
Getting even more perfect today.
Yes. Wait until you see this. I mean, and it's my favourite technique that you used today. So we'll see that later on.
Oh, right.
I love it.
I don't know which bit you're referring to.
Oh, okay. Right, well, I'll tell you later.
Because there's a couple of techniques there.
I'll tell you later.
Tell me later.
And of course, all in the build-up for Pick of the Projects.
Yes, Pick of the Projects.
Yes, it's the moment when we get to share the project, which we are enjoying the most. And I love this segment.
I love it too.
Because it really makes me think about my knitting.
Me too. It's been really fun doing it this way. And it does freshen things up and make you think of things in a different way,
Also, I think it's making me look more positively on all my knitting.
Oh, well, that's good.
Because rather than, I don't look for the thing I'm enjoying the least. I sort of think about the positives of all of them. And then...
Do you normally look for the thing you're enjoying the least?
No.
Oh.
But, you could go that way, couldn't you? You could think, well, which am I not enjoying?
I suppose you could. I suppose you could.
And maybe this delves into the whole glass half full, glass half.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Empty.
I mean, you know which way I always go.
I couldn't even say it then. I couldn't say the words. I thought it was
opposites, me and Dan.
Oh, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, opposite, subtract. It's, oh no, not Janet Jackson. It's Paula Abdul.
Oh.
And there was a cat. Do you remember? Walking on a pavement.
I did love Paula Abdul back in the day. She could dance, that woman.
Because she was choreographer for someone.
Ah, that's right.
I feel like...
It wasn't Michael Jackson, was it?
No, it was a woman. It might have been Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson.
I think she might have been Janet Jackson's choreographer.
Maybe that's where I've got Jackson in my head.
Who remember? comment below. Do you remember and did you love Paula Abdul?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So, yes, Pick of the Projects coming later on the show. And shock horror. We have two things to show you in What's Off Your Needles, and one of them is mine.
That's correct.
Mine.
Mine.
Very, very exciting. Now, sadly...
Finding Nemo.
Yes. It's like a quiz. That's our life. The quiz when I was growing up was you would say something and my mum would start singing a song.
Oh, yeah. She still sort of does that, doesn't she?
And then you would have to guess what musical or film musical it was from. Or sometimes she did do songs. But, you know, the worst one of all that by the end you're like, oh, please just shut up, was Could Be. Could Be. Who knows? I can't even...
What's that from? See, now I'm testing you, you know.
It's West Side Story.
Oh, West Side Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, for me...
I love the music from West Side Story, but I've never seen the
best show
play or film adaptation
ever played in my life, even better than Jesus Christ Superstar, although I do love a bit of Jesus Christ Superstar.
You do.
The best show I ever was involved in was West Side Story.
Was it really?
It was.
Where did you play that?
Right here.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, in our own town.
Not in this house.
In our own town.
That would be a bit loud. It was the best band I ever played in. They put together an absolutely brilliant band. And you may recall from last year, I think it was our Christmas special, when our friend, my best friend Luke, did an interview with Christopher.
Oh, that's right.
Christopher Dickens.
Yes.
Because they're both in Mamma Mia.
Yep.
I played drums in the pit for West Side Story, and Luke was on the stage.
Ah.
How cool was that?
That's very cool. I didn't see that.
No. I was having a conversation with the third part of the Bakery Bears, Jen Keeler, our Knitabilities editor, but also as well, she made her first proper appearance on the show last time because she does reviews for us. We were talking about musicals, and I was saying to her, you know, there was a moment right after The Greatest Showman, when you know, and the musical actually that I said that should be redone, because I don't think you can redo Calamity Jane. No. But you could redo Oklahoma.
Yeah, because I've never seen Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's old.
Yeah,
it's 50s.
See, they could have done that. Why did they not follow up The Greatest Showman with another one?
Well,
you know, why Hugh Jackman?
There was rumblings that they were looking to do something.
Wasn't it like South Pacific?
Bad choice.
Not a good film.
It's a good musical, but I don't think you can redo that. You know, but Oklahoma,
I didn't like South Pacific.
You could totally redo. You know, Hugh Jackman. Have you ever seen Hugh Jackman in...
You've shown me.
It was at the Barbican with Maureen Lipman.
You showed me.
You imagine that on a big grand scale, huge locations, you know, it would just be...
You know, is he a little bit old now?
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He is. But Patrick Wilson could probably get away with it.
Oh, yeah, Patrick Wilson could.
That guy can sing.
But you see, if they'd done it straight after The Greatest Showman, then it would have, you know... But that's a few years ago now, isn't it?
Well, they missed the boat. The ship has sailed. And speaking of the ship sailing, it's high time that we got on with the show.
Yes.
Because lots of lovely projects to show you. And so, without further ado, I shall say, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Okay, so I'm kicking it off today with some socks. I say some socks because actually there's 2 pairs within this project. So that's exciting. Do you remember last time I'd started that new potential design with the self-striping yarn? Well, I've been continuing with that, and which one shall I show you first? Right, let's talk about. No, I can't sing that one. Don't do it, Kay. I've finished the first sock of the second sock I cast on. That'll make sense if you've watched the last show. But with this pattern, I'd knit one sock, if you remember, and then I was trying it out just slightly modified with another yarn. So I've finished that first sock with the other yarn. Let me show you that first of all. So this pattern, if you didn't watch the last show, or just to recap, what I wanted to do was to create a pattern for a self-striping yarn that didn't have eyelets. So my fairground socks are very much loved And what I love the most about that pattern, right, is that I see people knitting it and knitting it again and knitting it again and knitting it again. Jen is a perfect example. You know, she's knit that pattern so many times. And I just love that. I just love that, you know, I just feel like you're getting so much value for money, first of all. You know, you might have knit 5 pairs of socks with that pattern or whatever, and you just enjoy, obviously you're enjoying it because you keep knitting socks. And that for me it's the best thing, because if someone is knitting my pattern more than once, then they must really like it. And that's just brilliant. I love that. So yeah, I wanted to create something similar to the fairground socks. So a self-striping yarn that has movement in it with the pattern but doesn't have eyelets, so that it gives more options for people. You know, you could knit this for all of your family. It's not necessarily feminine leaning. So I looked at the whole chevron situation with patterns, and I spoke about this at length on the last show. So if you want to hear my kind of full ins and outs, then go back and watch that one if you haven't already. But I basically analysed how that chevron stitch works and what can cause it to pull the fabric in, because that's what the problematic thing is with this stitch. It can cause, a bit like when you do cables, you know, it sucks the fabric in, and it can mean that your socks are too small. There's, you know, the solution for that is that you sometimes see this kind of a pattern but with a much higher stitch count. Sometimes it's only on the front of the sock. But I wanted to see if I could produce something with standard stitch counts that people are familiar with, are comfortable with, but that still gives you that feel. So this is the second pair that I'm working on, and this is with a slight modification to see if it gave more stretch to the pattern. So I finished this sock. Isn't the yarn lovely? It's so like summery, I think. It reminds me of, Dan said it made him think of beach huts, which I think is true, you know, that sort of fun stripiness. So this yarn is Freckled Whimsy. It was a club colourway, Spells and Things, from 2023, and it's Sugar Quill is the colourway name. I've finished this one, as you can see. So what I did was, I thought what I will do is I'll put both of them on my feet, so one on one foot, one on the other, and see if I can notice, you know, a noticeable difference. So this is the first one that I knitted. This is Freckled Whimsy as well. This was one of her Halloween colourways from last year. Sorry, oh no, this was from this year, because this club ended this year. This was the February one, which was Happy Pinkoween. So I'll explain which one I'm going with and why, but back to the story. I put this on one foot, this on the other foot, and I would say that this one does give a little bit more stretch, but when I put this one back on my foot again, I was like, there's nothing wrong with this sock. It fits, it goes on, it fits. I think I might have been slightly overthinking the situation and just overthinking that whole restriction of fabric and not wanting to cause issues and things like that. So what I've decided to do is I'm going with this one for a few reasons. One is that I think the pattern looks better on this one. It's just a bit kind of more defined. That's what Dan used that word, and he's right. The stitch pattern is a little bit more defined, and also you do get more of a zigzag with this. You get more of that chevron going on. This one's a little less defined. You still get the movement, but it's just not quite as good and neat as this one. I hope you can see what I mean. So I'm going with this one. However, within the pattern, what I will do, because I'm going to finish this pair because they're lovely, What I will do is I'll pop in a photo of these as well in the pattern, and I'll put a note in there at the beginning of the pattern somewhere just to say that this is all going to go through testing, so this might not even be necessary. Everybody might just say to me it's totally fine. But in my head, what I'm going to do is I'll put a note in the pattern to say if you are at all worried that your gauge might be on the tighter side, or that you've got particularly wide instep or this kind of a thing, then this is what you can do and you'll get a bit more stretch. And it would look like this, which has still got lots of lovely movement. Yeah, you just get a tiny bit more stretch. But this is the one that I'm going to go with. And I just think it's so lovely, isn't it? And it's so lovely to knit. So I've cast on the second of the pink pair. I just started this yesterday afternoon. So you can see I've started that and we're away with those chevrons. I've made them matching because it's, I think it just looks nicer photography wise when they're matching, so they're perfectly matched. So my plan with this is I'm going to finish this pink one. Actually, I'm going to finish both of them because I'm not rushing with this. I would like to get it out within the summer, but I do want to make sure I do a really thorough job with it because of the all of the thoughts I've had and the nature of it and everything. So I'm actually going to finish both pairs. So I'm going to do this one first, which will be the main pair for the pattern. I'm then going to go back to this one and finish this one. This hasn't been blocked yet either, so it will improve, in terms of neatness a little bit once it's been blocked. But yeah, I'm going to go back and finish this pair too. And then I'm going to get the pattern written. I'll get it into testing, see what happens from there, and then, follow the process through. But I'm absolutely loving knitting it. It's that kind of a pattern that it's like the fairground socks. That's all I will say. It's got that kind of a feel to it. So if you love the fairground socks, then I think you will love this one too. It will be perfect for things like the advent skeins, that people buy, like the Cozy Knitter, Freckled Whimsy. I know a few other people do it as well now. But it would be perfect for that because once you get going with the pattern, you'll have it in your head and it's just really as easy as a vanilla sock, but better because it keeps you going even more than just stripes, I think. I do have a name in my mind, but I'm just still pondering on that until I get a bit further down the line. So yeah, I'm just working my way down this one. I'll get this one done, then the green one. Green? I suppose green is the overall colour. These will both be for Bryony, and I just cast this one on, the second one, and I sent her a picture. I said, oh look, I'm doing another one, you can have these as well. And she's like, those colours are a bit random. I'm like, what? They're not. She thought this blue stood out a bit, but I really like it. She's just been a teenager. She'll put them on her feet and enjoy them. I'm really loving the process. I'm happy to have this second sock on the needles and be away with that. And yeah, I will keep you posted on the progress. This next couple of weeks, I really want to get a load of stuff finished. So we'll see how I get on with that. Wish me luck with my finishing. So Dan Jones,
yes,
what's on your needles?
It's this. It's the Albion. And I love it now. Well, no, that sounds terrible. Well,
you love it now, did you not?
Well, last time I showed you this, I was talking about it and I was, I don't know. I mean, what I'm loving, right, is when you look at it, you can see, or certainly I can see purple in this now.
Can you?
Yeah, I can see blue and purple.
I know what you mean.
Also, before the sort of chevron-y motif... Oh, chevrons.
Ah.
It's all about the chevrons.
It's all about the chevrons.
The chevron motif thingy, I wasn't quite getting it in my head about how it would look all the way up.
Yeah.
Because I'd done it once, and now, I mean, I'm still not completely certain, all the way up the body, but I'm sure it's going to look great, and I'm sure it's going to fit that vibe. I think the plain sleeves will balance it out. I think it's really important in anything that you do. Crumbs. any form of art, whether it be music or painting or knitting or whatever it is, if you throw everything at it, the kitchen sink, then it all becomes a bit of a mishmash. And I think that's what I was starting to think, because there was so much like going on in the body, and it's going to continue up the body. Because last time I did talk about how on the photograph it looked like that the midsection was plain. And I was thinking, actually, that might be quite a good idea. But actually, as it transpires,
it's not.
It's not. It was just the picture. It hadn't come across quite right. But when you balance this out with 2 sleeves, plain knitted on either side, and also as well, I do trust Michelle Wong. Because, I mean, I've only knitted one of her designs before, but it was perfection in every way. All it is knits and pearls, and that is, of course, all that a Gansey is. And that's my whole sort of driver at the moment.
Sometimes there's cables on a Gansey.
Which I love.
Yeah, so it's cables, knits and pearls, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
And maybe that's what's missing on this.
Yeah.
Because it's not got any of those cables. But the guy looks very chic.
Oh, he does.
On the picture.
Oh, yes.
And I think I will also look very chic.
I do too.
Because I've been working very hard on the sit-ups and the push-ups.
Yeah, I think that colour will look good. Well, it's funny, this colour isn't, when I hold it up like that, it's not as bright as that. It's what the screen does, isn't it? It's more of a navy.
And the yarn, more of a navy, unlike the other yarn. But this is the yarn. It's Cascade 220. And, it feels great.
It's lovely. It's lovely yarn.
And this is, of course, what you used to use to knit the jumpers for the bakery bears.
I did.
And I can totally see why. It would keep them so warm.
It's Midnight Heather, I believe, was the colour. 9449.
But also what I like about it is it does feel slightly robust. There is a certain amount of oomph to it. It's not
it's non-superwash.
Yeah.
So you're onto a winner, really, aren't you, when it's non-superwash?
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit more robust, not as inclined to stretch and drop and all of that.
Could you wind that for me?
I will wind it for you.
Did you like my trick there? I started out holding
let me hold it,
and then he was, as you've got it in your hands.
Well, you've got that.
Well, you've got that. Could you wind it for me?
We just wind that.
So yes, Albion, and I'm very much looking forward to, in a different way, to finishing it, because I'm not going to know until I put it on what I think. But the fit I think is bang on. So that's really positive.
It'll be really nice, and I think it'll make a nice change to your
that's it, because it's different.
piece.
It's because it's different.
Yeah, I think once you've got it on and once it's blocked and once it's blocked and it's on your body and you've worn it for a bit, I think you'll love it.
This is the stepping stone to the Gansey, because this is when I know if it's the right move for me or not.
I want you to knit one of those Ganseys that lady was knitting when Michael Portillo went to see her.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I do, yeah.
Michael Portillo went to see a lady knitting Ganseys in Filey, wasn't it, years ago on one of his shows. And she was sat there with these long double-pointed needles. They looked about... I think they're really small, aren't they? If it's DK weight that they're usually knitted in, but something like 2.5mm or 2.75mm needles. It's knitted really densely. And the idea of that is that it makes it more waterproof because it was for the fishermen on the boats.
When you fall in the sea, you'll stay dry.
Yeah, it makes it more waterproof, makes it more windproof because the gauge is dense. I love a nice sturdy gauge. I've spoken about this before, haven't I? But I do really love a nice sturdy gauge.
Speaking of sturdy gauges, what else is on your needles?
So the next thing is actually another pair of socks. Because...
But is the gauge sturdy, Kay?
Well, it's not as sturdy as on a Gansey, I wouldn't have thought. But it's sturdy enough for me.
We all like a pair of socks that stands up to attention, don't we?
So yeah, it's a pair of socks, and I started these while we were away, and what I wanted to do was to knit a scrappy pair of socks with colours that reflected the environment that we were in. We're still not going to say where we were. Our patrons do know, but we're going to keep it secret for the moment. But yeah, all of the colours sort of reflected where we were. So I went into my stash and I just pulled out a bunch of yarns randomly and just threw them in a bag, threw in a pair of needles, and off we went. But I chose all these sorts of colours. I can't tell you what the colours make me think of, but they're lovely. I can't hold all of those. all of these sorts of colours. So we've got like pale speckles, we've got blues, we've got soft yellows, greens. There's a few more in here. I've got a pink as well, and a grey. Really just soft, muted colours. Really, really pretty shades. So I did get it cast on while we were away, but I only did, I think, the cuff and one stripe. And I've done the rest since we got back. So I'll show you what this is looking like, and then I'll show you what my process is for knitting this sock, if you like. So this is the front of the sock. So we started up here with the cuff, which is 2x2 for 12 rounds. I really like a 12 round cuff at the moment. I just think it looks cute and neat. And then I'm starting in on the scrappy stripes, but I've done something a bit different this time. So that's the front. And then this is the back, which has got the heel. You can see I've got a heel in here, which is my butterfly heel. And I've just done my usual shorter leg. And now I'm working my way down the foot. That lovely pink that I'll just put in. So what I wanted to do this time is, rather than do equal length stripes, I've gone for alternate thinner and thicker stripes. So I just did some maths. I explained all of this, I think, didn't I, at the beginning of my perfect socks, about how to work out how many rows to do if you're doing a scrappy sock. So I just did a little bit of maths for this one and worked out how I could make it all fit. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 9 rounds as the thin stripe, and then double that, so 18 rounds as the thicker stripe. So here we've got a 9 and an 18 on the leg, and then I've just done another 9 and an 18 for the foot, and that will work out. I can't remember, what will I end on? I did write this down. I did this when we were in the car, I think, so I made a right old mess of it. So yeah, it'll go 9, 18, 9, 18, 9, 18, 9. So that's how the foot will finish, and then I'll do the toe. So there'll be 10 colours altogether. I didn't know how many colours it would take. It didn't matter for this. I'd got a load of them in there. I got more than 10. So I just have been choosing ones that I wanted to do. The heel is lovely. The heel is this one, which I believe is a pixie yarn. It's really pretty. It reminds me of kind of opals. So that, and it knits up like that, look. Really pretty. And I'm really enjoying this. It's going really quick. I feel like I've not really even been knitting on this, and I'm already a good portion down the foot. I do, when I put in a butterfly heel, it's sort of the same actually, for whether it's a butterfly heel or whether I use a standard heel flap and gusset. But I generally do after the heel. So in this case it's directly after you finish the heel, but when it's a heel turn, a heel flap and a turn, I count from the pickup on the heel, you know, the heel on the gusset. So where the immediate pickup there, I count how many rounds I do after that. And it's usually, depending on the yarn, it does vary. It's somewhere between sort of 60 to 64 rounds after that point. But I do always check if it's a different yarn base. I do always check, because it can be 3 or 4 rounds different for me depending on the base. And strangely, I've had a couple of times when it's been a 75-25 base, which is a standard one, isn't it? But the gauge has somehow produced a longer row gauge, so it's like the stitches are sort of elongated in length, and I've sometimes only had to do sort of 58 or 59 rounds. And that brings me on to something actually, right? Do you know how I went on and rambled on about opal yarn, and I had that bit of a thing about it? Well, I don't know if I'm imagining this, but the more recent yarns I've had that have been dyed on the 75-25 base, I just feel like the base is sort of different to how it used to be. I think that base always used to be quite smooth and quite a light base, you know, quite thin, if you like. But I do have a memory of it being a bit more plump, a bit sort of cushier than it is these days. It's very, very smooth and very, I don't know whether like the twist is tighter or what it is. It just feels a bit different to me, and I just wondered if anybody else had thought that. And in fact, I went into my stash and pulled out a skein from a few years ago that was that base and compared it to a newer one, and they did feel different. First of all, the one from a few years ago felt softer and squishier and bouncier. The more recent one feels more slick and smooth and definitely a bit skinnier. So that bothers me a bit. And I've also noticed as well, I think I had one skein where it was 75-25 and I thought it was a 4-plied yarn, but actually it turned out to be a 3-plied yarn, and I've never seen that before. A 75-25 base that was a 3-plied yarn. So I don't know, it's just an observation, I suppose. Things change, don't they? I realise that. But quite often I don't...
Really for the better?
I don't enjoy change quite often. Well, I don't mind change if it's better. But in this instance, I mean, I wound a skein of yarn recently to make Bryony a pair of socks. And when I was winding it, I'm like, gosh, this feels really skinny. And then I thought it's my imagination. And I wound it into a cake and looked at it in the cake and compared it to other ones, like I've said, previous. And it definitely was a bit skinnier. So I didn't cast that on because I was mad about it. But there is that yarn in here, but these are all sort of older leftovers that I've had for a few years. If you've had any of those thoughts, then just let me know. Or if you're a dyer and you know something, you're in the knowledge, you know something, then I'd be interested to know. But yeah, my Scrappy Sock is underway and I'm just really loving it. It's almost identical to the My Perfect Socks. The only difference really is that I've put in the butterfly heel, which I explained in that series that it was sort of tricky to put that in because of the way how you basically got to have your next yarn there at the start of this heel, which I didn't have, with My Perfect Socks, I didn't have that because I hadn't dyed it yet. So other than that, it's going to be the same really. So loving it. You can't beat a scrappy pair of socks, can you? Just so fun.
Right, it's time for the OG episode of My Perfect Socks.
The OG?
No, that's you. That's you that say that. Did I use it correctly?
No.
The original.
Why is it the original?
Because of the colourway.
Right, okay. Well, see what you think. See if you think Dan's used that term correctly.
As we established earlier on in the show, this was the colourway which started Kate off on the epic quest, which became My Perfect Socks. So, to find out what that colourway could possibly be, and also to find out how we knit it into our socks, let's watch the next episode of My Perfect Socks.
It's a brand new year, so it's time for a new challenge. I want to knit myself the perfect pair of socks. To do that, I'm going to need yarn and lots of it. The inspiration will be one of my favourite films. So together, let's create My Perfect Socks. Welcome back, everybody, to My Perfect Socks. Yes, I am back with you in the kitchen, ready to dye up some beautiful yarn. So we're actually on colour number 8 now of the 12 out of this series, so we're really getting quite far into the socks now. Last time we did that absolutely beautiful golden retriever colour, didn't we, for Brinkley, and that was just gorgeous. I had a good long think and a look at all of the colours that I've dyed previously to decide which one I was going to do next. And we've reached that point where we are going to do actually the first colourway in this You've Got Mail themed series, if you like. It was the first colour that I dyed up when I dyed my own advent calendar last year. And I started off with the Shop Around the Corner. So today's colourway, yes, is themed on the actual the actual shop itself, the beautiful children's bookshop in the film. This particular colourway, it really does follow on beautifully from that last colour. I wanted to do it now as well so that it's on the kind of foot of the sock, because that's the bit that you sort of see the most, isn't it? Or I do anyway, because I usually wear my hand knitted socks in the house, so the foot portion is the bit that you always see. Also, the coordinating colour that I've got in mind, I'm not sure yet, but I think I know which one I'm going to use. The whole set together, actually, the main skein and then the mini, when you look at them, I kind of get a slightly vintage, old-timey Christmas sort of feel to it. It's really lovely. So very excited to get to this one. So of course, what we're going to do is we will dye up the yarns. We'll get them dry, we will wind them, and then we're going to knit them into the sock. And I've seen some lovely socks, actually. I've seen a lot of people who are kind of going into their own stash and finding colours that are similar, which has been brilliant. So it's just a really fun series to see everybody's versions of their own perfect socks. It's been really lovely. So yeah, before we get to the dyeing and before we get to the knitting, of course, what we've got to do is have a little sit down and a chat, and I will tell you all about the specific inspiration for the Shop Around the Corner. Okay, so I am tucked up in my little chair and here to tell you now about the specific inspiration for the Shop Around the Corner colourway. So what I wanted to sort of capture with this colourway was, do you know when you first sort of see the inside of the shop? Oh, it's just so beautiful, isn't it? It's the most beautiful bookshop. And I thought, right, what direction shall I go with this colourway? Because it being a children's bookshop, it is very colourful. All the books in themselves are colourful. It's Christmas time quite often in this film, so, there's sort of fairy lights and things like that going on. Behind the counter, there's like all teddy bears and things. It is quite a bright coloured scene, really, when you sort of break it down. But Kathleen's owned the bookshop for a long time, and before that it was her mum's bookshop. It's been in the family quite a long time, and I think there's a lot of history in that, isn't there? And quite a vintage feel. And at one point she talks about her mum, and there's a photo behind which is black and white, and she's twirling with her mum. She's sort of doing a little dance and twirling, and it had a very classically vintage feel. So I wanted to go down the route of producing a colourway that was sort of like a gentle colour with some speckles, but that really reflected the sort of warmth of the place as well. So what I did was I looked at the colour of the bookshelves and the cabinets and everything, because you do see the shop when it's completely empty, because she has to sell it, doesn't she? Which is devastating. So you do see it empty, which means you can see the real colour of the bookcases, and there's like a sort of unit in the middle as well with books all around. And the colour was a really rich, deep, creamy kind of, do you know if you go into some stately homes, things are painted white, but what's happened is over the years it's sort of mellowed and yellowed a little bit. Do you know what I mean? There's quite a few colourways by Farrow and Ball that are that sort of shade, where it's white but not white because it's aged or faded or whatever. And it was that kind of deep, rich, creamy colour that I wanted to get. So that's the overall colour, but then we're going to add in some beautiful speckles. Now, I didn't want to do bright, in-your-face colours for the speckles. Again, I wanted to go slightly vintage. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do like a red and a green and a blue, but they're very classically vintage colours. So it's sort of, imagine like a Victorian sort of colours for Christmas. Do you know that more... a little bit more moody? That's the sort of speckles that we're going for. So that's the main skein, and then for the minis we're going to use one of those colours that we've speckled with, so we'll just wait and decide what that's going to be. So yeah, can't wait to do this one with you. I think you're going to love it, and it's just going to look so lovely following that rich, deep orangey gold from last time. This follows on so nicely, and you're going to love the speckles as well. Really, really pretty. So now, of course, it's time to have a look at all of the things that we're going to need to dye our lovely yarn today. First of all, I've got my saucepans that we dye in. These are stainless steel. I like the ones that have two handles because they're nice and easy to move around when they've got heavy water in. I'm going to use two pans this time because we're dyeing two different colourways each time. All of your equipment that you use for dyeing, you must only ever use it for dyeing because the dye powders are toxic. We then need our citric acid. So citric acid is our mordant. The mordant is the sort of chemical, if you like, that makes the dye permanently stick to the yarn. So in my case, I'm going to use citric acid, which I would say is the most common way these days that dyers, get their mordant. Some dyers use vinegar. People like Malabrigo, Madeline Tosh, their yarns always smell vinegary when you get them. That's because they use vinegar instead of citric acid. But citric acid is easy to get. It's a food safe product. It's basically the stuff that goes into fizzy sweets if you ever eat fizzy sweets. So we've then got some gloves. I've got some thicker rubber gloves which are more heat proof, and then I've just got these thin sort of surgical gloves. I've got a mask, of course. You must always, always, always use a mask when you are dyeing your yarns. I've got my big mixing spoon. Where would I be without my big mixing spoon? And a jug. This is just one of these cheap plastic jugs that you can get anywhere, and I use this for when I make a liquid solution with my dyes. I've got some old tea towels, and then underneath here I've got a piece of oilcloth, just a spare bit that I had from making those sort of wipe clean tablecloths, and this will keep your work surfaces lovely and clean and dye free. And then finally, in my little pot here, I've got some brushes and then my measuring spoon. So this is a 1/8 of a teaspoon measuring spoon. I think they're classed as like scientific measuring spoons, these ones, but this is stainless steel. I don't think I've ever had any other teaspoon. And you just wash all these things thoroughly afterwards, ready for the next time. And then finally, we're going to be looking at our yarns. So each time we dye in this series, I'm going to be dyeing the same yarns. So in my bowl here, I've already got soaking in just some water, warm water from the tap, and a scoop of my citric acid, which is about a tablespoon. All I've ever done is bunged in like a scoop. These things usually come with a scoop, and I'm guessing it's about a tablespoon. Does it say on the back? No, it doesn't. But I just put in a scoop when I'm soaking my yarns, and then you'll see each time I dye a batch of yarn, I put in another scoop. So in my bowl soaking, we've got fingering weight yarn, because this is for a lovely perfect pair of socks. So we've got a fingering weight yarn. Here I've got 100 grams, just one single 100 gram skein. And then here I've got two 20 gram mini skeins. So this is an 85/15 base, and it's a 4-plied yarn. So It's nice and round and plump. It's soft and bouncy. This is the base that I've been dyeing on for quite some time now. You can get lots of other fingering weight bases. You know, the standard one is that sort of 75-25, and that's very nice. I use that a lot to knit socks, but when I'm dyeing it myself, I just prefer this base. It's a bit more kind of luxurious. It's just squishy and lovely. So 85-15 base. There's 400 meters per 100 grams. And then we've got the two 20-gram minis. So that's going to be what we're going to be dyeing on each time. Right, so what dye colours are we going to use today? So we've got 5 colours that we're going to use. I've got 2 jacquard, 2 landscape and 1 Dharma dye. So I will tell you the colours, the specific colours, and then I'll sort of try and describe the type of colour that it is. So if you're substituting, you can do that. So let's start with the jacquard. So first of all, we've got jacquard 602 bright yellow. And this truly is, you can probably see from the colour of it in the pot, it's just a really sunny, bright yellow. We've then got another jacquard, which is 631 teal. And it is that just classic tealy, blue-green sort of colour. I think some people would describe teal as a blue, other people maybe a green. I would say it's more of a blue teal. We've then got 2 landscape dyes. So the first one is Landscape Originals, and it's Fern. So this is a lovely green. It's as it describes it really. It's that green that you see on ferns. It is quite bright. The way that we're going to use it, it does show quite brightly on the yarn. But you can use this in a more subtle way. But yeah, imagine that kind of foresty, ferny green. So the next one is another landscape, and this is Bloodwood. I'm absolutely sure that I've not used this one here with you before. This one is like, imagine, I mean, it's not a very nice name, I don't think, this, Bloodwood, but it's that kind of brownish red. Imagine a red that's sort of got brown leaning tendencies, if you like. And then the final one is a Dharma dye, and this is number 453, and it's fawn. And this is, as it says, you know, imagine a newly born fawn. Do you know that kind of beigey, slightly golden, slightly brown sort of colour? That's what this is. We're going to mix it with another colour. And it just makes the most beautiful shade when we do that. But it is a lovely colour in its own right. If you like neutrals, then this would make a beautiful, just tonal yarn, if that's your thing. So yeah, last one, Dharma dyes, fawn. So that's all 5 dye colours that we're going to use today, and the next thing of course we've got to do is get to the stove and start dyeing that beautiful yarn. Okay, so I've got my pot heating up here. It's about 1/3 full of water with a scoop of citric acid, so about a tablespoon, and that's heating up nicely. So what we're going to do first of all is get some dye into the pot. So I'm going to be using the jacquard bright yellow and the Dharma fawn. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put in about 1/2 of our 1/8 of a teaspoon, about 1/2 of that into the pot of each of these 2 colours. And it might seem a bit strange that we're using bright yellow to create a sort of creamy, rich creamy colour, but it really does work with the fawn. So I'm being careful not to get too much. So 1/2 of that teaspoon, which is 1/8 of a teaspoon. In it goes. Just give my spoon a little wipe there. And then we're going to take the fawn, which when you look in the pot, you might be a bit shocked and think, ooh, what are you doing? But trust me, it does work. So again, about 1/2 of our teaspoon. There you go, into the pot. It looks quite alarming when you put it in. This is what's so fun about yarn dyeing, you know, it's the experimentation. You think, oh, what would happen if I did that and that? It's really, really fun. So we're going to give that a mix. And the colour that you get sort of appearing, it's like a brown, I suppose, but it's definitely got that yellowish tint to it. So when you kind of drop it back down, you get a very sort of yellowish, brownish sort of colour it looks like. It won't look remotely like this when we put the yarn in. It's really interesting. So give it a real good stir. We don't want any dye particles at this stage because this is going to be a really lovely, quite tonal base colour. There we go. So now I'm going to pop my gloves on. We're going to grab our yarn. It's this one. Get a nice squidge. And let's get that in. So we're going to drop it in quite slowly. I'm just going to have a look. Yeah. So drop it down, and as it goes down, give it a kind of wish around like this. Fairly slowly, because we do want this to be lovely and tonal. So that yarn that went in first is going to get much more dye. So once it's all in like that, lift it up, and now you can see the colour. Can you see how beautiful that is? But you can see down here has got more of it, fading up here to not much. So now we can jiggle it around like that and drop that bit back in, because that pale bit could do with having a bit more. I think that is a bit too contrasty. So let's give that pale bit a bit more. There we go. And it will soak that up really quickly because there's really not a lot of dye in there. And the more you kind of wiggle it around like this, the quicker it will absorb it. So if we have a quick look, you see the colour's virtually gone. Can you see how gorgeous and tonal that is? And it's this kind of rich, really deep, rich cream. I mean, we've got some lovely paler bits here, going down to more rich colour down here. I wouldn't personally think there was a bright yellow in there. It just works really lovely. So drop that back down, and what I'm going to do now is just crank up the heat a little bit, bring that up to simmering point, and then just lower the temperature and just let that have a little bit of a simmer for 5 minutes or so. Right, so that's had a nice 5 minutes or so just simmering away. So we're ready for the next stage. So what I'm going to do is take out a load of this water, because we're going to do some speckling and we can't speckle with all that water in there. So what I'm going to do is just sort of lift the yarn out of the way a little bit, use my little scoop, and we're just going to take out most of the water, because speckles really hate a lot of water. You'll never get really good speckles if you've got too much water in there. You want the yarn to be sitting above the level of the water. Doesn't matter if there's a couple of sort of little puddles here and there, but largely you want it sitting above. So there we go. So you can see now we've got all of the yarn is sitting kind of above the surface with just teeny tiny little puddles, and that's perfect. Isn't it a gorgeous colour? So now we're going to bring in our other 3 colours. So we're going to start, we're going to go in the order of, we're going to go bloodwood, fern, teal, and we're going to do some speckling. So I'm going to start with the bloodwood. Now these speckles, they want to be teeny, you know, we're going for that really lovely light speckles. So just dab your brush in and just get the littlest bit and then tap it off a bit. And go really close to the yarn and just give it a tap. And that's enough to give you some speckles. So close to the yarn and a little tap. Just find little spaces all over. Go back in if you need a bit more. The reason I go close to the yarn is it just stops the dye powder flying around everywhere. And also it goes where you want it to go. If you're up here, it's just going to go everywhere, and it also goes out into the air as well, which we don't want. So nice and close to the yarn, and just choose a few little areas. And you can see there's not a lot going on there because we do just want little speckles of this. I don't know if you can see the colour as it hits, but it is a very deep red. Because what happens as well is when you drop it on, it takes a couple of minutes for the colour to sort of develop properly and for you to be able to see it properly. So it's always best to just give it a little minute and then assess it. And you can see, actually, I don't know if you can, but it's bubbling quite a lot, so I think I'm going to, that's enough of that colour now. I'm just going to turn my heat off for a second. So we've put in some nice speckles of the bloodwood, so I'm going to now go to the fern and do the same thing. So grab some, tap, and just go in between. Just find little areas again, and you don't need very much. So you can see we've got, effectively at the moment, we've got gold, we've got red, and we've got green, but we're using it in a really different way. The shades are not typically festive, I don't think. That kind of deep red with a fern green. So I'm just going around and finding little areas. Sometimes you might drop on a bit more than you intended, don't worry. That's probably enough of the green. So now it's the teal. So it's very delicate, very light. And just go in again, oh, you see I dropped a bit more than I intended there, but we won't worry. So find little spaces. It sort of looks similar to the fern when you drop this on, but it is different and it will show up different when we've finished. I think we're good there. So that's the first layer. So I'm just going to pop my heat back on and just let that come back up to simmering. It'll only take a second. And just leave that be again for 5 minutes. You probably won't need more than 5 minutes or so. And then we're just going to check that that's set. We'll give the yarn a move around, and we're just going to repeat that process to make sure we get speckles all the way through the yarn. Okay, so that's simmering away lovely now, and if we take our big spoon, the way to check is just find a little area and just tap down like that. And if there's no movement in the dies, as you can see, that's not doing anything there, then we're good to move it and just do the next layer of colour. So what we're going to do is lift it up, and you can see we've got loads of speckling on there, but then nothing really on the other side. So what I'm going to do this time is just flip it straight over. Sometimes I move it, sometimes I don't. But with this one, we're just going to flip it straight over. And as we drop it in, try and get the side that's been dyed face down in the water. And you can see now pretty much got a clear area to go on with no dye, with no speckling on. So that's perfect. So now I'm just going to repeat what I did before. So we're going to speckle with the bloodwood. Then the fern. Then the teal, exactly as we did previously. Okay, so that's the second layer done. So now it's just a matter of letting that simmer away again for 5 minutes or so, and just check again with your big spoon. Just tap it down to make sure that those colours are nice and set after sort of 5-10 minutes at the most, I would say. So there we go, that's our first and main colourway all dyed up, and it's cooling down outside. So come back in part 2 when we're going to dye up the coordinating minis, and then we're going to get to the knitting. So I'll see you back soon.
Now, who would have guessed that adding fawn would create such a rich colour?
I know.
I mean, you were right when you said, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I mean...
Did I say that?
How did you discover?
I dyed a colourway years ago, right? Can I remember the name of it? Probably not. It was something to do with beaches and sand and something. And I was trying to make a really soft gold colour, and not like yellow gold. Do you know that kind of gold that's like, it's hard to describe, isn't it? Like, not shiny gold, not yellow shiny gold, that more natural soft gold. And I was just playing around with things, and I can't remember the makeup of, it wasn't the fawn that I used because I didn't have that colour then. But I think I used like a brown and a yellow of some description, just a tiny bit of each. And it turned out to be this really beautiful soft gold. So I think I had that in my head when I was thinking of this colourway, wanting that really rich, creamy sort of colour.
Cool.
Erring slightly towards gold. Yeah, so that's where it came from.
And it's the speckling that I love the most.
Oh, the speckling, right.
And I think the reason why I love it is I know I'd be terrible at it. Because I have a feeling, although maybe, I don't know. I think
you'd be a bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, you see, big hands, it's harder to be delicate.
I don't think it's anything to do with the big hands, really. I think it's just, you've just got to be really, really gentle. Yeah.
See, a light tap for me, though, is definitely harder than a light tap for you.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
and I'm sure that comes from the weight of my hand naturally falling.
Just have to make it fall less.
My goodness, great start. But when we come back later on in the show with the second part of My Perfect Socks, contrast time, and then we'll be getting to knit the yarn into the socks.
Which is the most exciting bit, isn't it?
It's supremely exciting. Yes. All that to come later on in the show. Right now, it's time for the pick of the projects. Oh, yeah, yes. Baby. And it's me.
It's you.
It's me.
Dan goes first.
I do. Very fun. Look at my cowl. It's stupendous.
Oh, my goodness. It's beautiful.
It's the Sweetheart cowl. And, it's my absolute pick of the projects because through the main big section in the middle into the spotty section again, Spotty Man from Super Ted. Super Ted.
Super Ted. Oh, that was fabulous, wasn't it?
It was. Those were the days. On when we were young, Bryony watched it too.
She did.
Did we get DVDs? We must have done.
I think we did.
It can't have been on the telly.
No, it wasn't on the telly. No.
But, who was...
It might have been on one of those compilation CDs we used to get for her.
Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse came back, didn't it? But it wasn't the same.
Original Danger Mouse.
Original Danger
Mouse. Got to be.
Yeah.
Terry Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Terry and June. And also David Jason. Absolutely rocking it. But yes, it's the Sweetheart cowl. And it is unbelievably rewarding because... I'm seeing in every stitch my improvements since I knitted it last time.
Definitely.
And that's so great. And, it comes back to what Kay was saying earlier on about doing patterns more than once. Of course, the pattern, you need to have enjoyed the pattern in the first place, don't you, to knit it a second time. But actually, if you're looking to improve your technique, what better way than to take something which you've knitted before, preferably that you still have, go and knit it again, after maybe thinking about what did I get wrong, how can I improve, knit it again, see if you are better, and if you are, it's like what a sort of personally brilliant, sort of rewarding. And when we're adults, it doesn't happen so often, I don't think, when we're adults. When we're children, it happens a lot, doesn't it? Because we're normally in education and teachers should be pretty good at that. But it shows knitting for the supreme and wonderful art form that it is, and it's been such a profound impact on me, and I never would have guessed that it would have been crumbs, thinking back.
No.
So the yarn is...
The yarn is the orangey one I dyed, and that's on the same base I'm dyeing for My Perfect Socks, so it's the 8515.
Yeah.
And then the dark grey is Eden Cottage yarns.
Yes.
And that's the same base but with sparkle in.
Yeah. But rather hilariously, you claimed it for yourself.
I thought I'd done it.
which was
But I came clean, didn't I? As soon as I realised, I'm like, oh, no, I didn't do that.
That wasn't me.
Victoria did it at Eden Cottage.
So the bits that I'm particularly pleased with, it's the bits down the middle with the single stitches, because those are the ones which can disappear, but also as well, I mentioned this last time because I threw this last time, but this section, a repeating pattern like that, it's really hard with the floats. If you're not quite right, it's going to pucker and it's going to look dodgy, and it looks great. But my favourite segment of all, actually, I do think is this bordering one.
Oh, really?
I think it's just wonderful. I don't know why it just appeals to me so much. I think it's because it sort of looks slightly train tracky, which I quite like. But then I love the pattern through the middle, the single stitches through the middle.
That centre section, though, is just glorious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
And the other thing is...
So beautiful.
I enjoyed the yarn I knitted it with it the first time, but definitely I'm enjoying this yarn more. And it just goes to show that contrasting yarns.
It's so soft as well. Bryony will love it. This is going to be a gift for Bryony, isn't it, for her birthday this year? Yeah. Which is in October, and she loves everything spooky and Halloweeny, so she'll love this because it is quite sort of spooky, isn't it? Orange and grey.
So that's most definitely my pick of the projects this time.
And this pattern, was this a platinum pattern?
No, it's available to purchase.
So this pattern is the Sweetheart Cowl, which is available to purchase on my Ravelry or Lovecrafts.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Forget all of that, because we're here for the crochet gorgeousness.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's time for the stunning crochet blanket.
So before I show you the crochet blanket, I'm going to show you the bag.
Oh, now.
That the blanket is in.
Before you show the bag,
yes,
this is part of our summer of stitching. And the summer of stitching has officially commenced.
It has begun.
So first part went out on Tuesday this week.
It's the blanket, which is right here, actually.
Yes. First part.
Everyone has started their blanket.
First part on Tuesday, second part on Thursday, and I have a feeling that you might like to see a little snippet of that second part right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Summer of Stitching. So yeah, we kicked off our Summer of Stitching on the last video, where you all hopefully will have started your blanket by now. So today we're going to get another portion of the pattern. We will be working through strip 2. So you will have a big long strip of squares. If you're following the pattern, you'll have 24. Let's bring in my next yarn, this lovely yellow. So our first stitch, so first of all, scoot your stitches sort of up to the tip of your needle. Our first stitch that we're going to pick up. Right, so here we are, ready to start working square 2 of strip 2. So we're now working from the top down to the bottom. So I hope you really enjoyed today's little segment. I'm so excited to see you all starting that second strip. See how you're all getting on, and I'll see you back next time for more fun in 100 Acre Wood.
Yes, Kay in the 100 Acre Wood. And that will be continuing all the way through this month. And then we'll be moving on to the next course. And the next course is...
It's going to be to make a project bag to house the blanket. So I've shown this actually to our patrons on the last pop show. So they've seen this bag already. But I've made, I think, 4 of these now, practicing prototypes, getting things right, because it was quite a lot of things new to me. But this one, well, it's almost exactly the one that we will be making. There's just one thing I haven't done with this that I'm going to be putting on the one we'll be making, but I'll tell you that in a second. So here's the bag that I made. So it's a giant tote bag, as you can see. I use this beautiful Pooh Bear fabric, which is, that's what this set is up here. Oh, hang on, let me just move those 2 yarns. So it's Riley Blake, and it's called 100 Acre Woods. Acre is spelt A-K-E-R. And I've got a fat quarter set of all of the fabrics. And I've got plans, actually. I think at some point I might try and make a quilt with this. I've never made a quilt in my life. So that'll be fun. So for this one, I've used 2 fabrics. I've used the sort of main print in this blue, and then the inside is this floral, really pretty floral. You can see that. So it's this giant tote bag. It's got 2 pockets inside. That's something I've never done before. So we've got 2 pockets down here. It's hard to show. So in here, because they are really useful, actually. I find they're really useful for when you're making blankets, because you can put in like yarn labels if you want to keep them. You can put in stitch markers. You can put in little leftover bits of yarn, a pen, a notepad maybe if you want to keep notes.
Maltesers. Maybe
a little snack. I wanted to do something a bit different for the handles. And, you know, for handles, you can just buy that sort of webbing. Is it called webbing? I don't know what it's called. It's sort of, you know what I mean? It's like a sort of thick linen-y, not linen. You know what I mean? You've probably seen it as made as handles. So you don't even need to make the handles. You can just buy that fabric. But I wanted to make the handles, so I've done that. And these are interfaced because I wanted them to be nice and sturdy. So they're interfaced. And then what I did here, to make it comfortable to hold, I folded it over. I don't know if you can see that. And then sewn it down here. And it's just really comfortable to hold, and it means that it doesn't sort of, if it was just this flat fabric like this, when you pick it up it can get sort of crunkled, can't it? Do you know what I mean? Whereas this is just lovely and sturdy and perfect. And it's giant. I deliberately wanted it to have this really large boxed bottom, so that it's, when you open it up, you get a really big area down here. Do you know, I sometimes buy bags and I think that the boxing is a bit stingy, let's say. It's, you know, the size of the boxing means that you've not got much of a bottom area, let's say. But I wanted this one to be really wide, and it is. It's lovely. And yeah, and the only other thing that I haven't put on this one that I will be putting on is there will be poppers, 3 sets of poppers, there, and there, so snaps, I think is what they're called in other countries. So, and I think I made 2 of these bags without them and 2 with them, because what I wanted this to have a way of securing it at the top, because I think this is a brilliant bag to take out and about with you as well. You could make the handles longer if you wanted to put it over your shoulder, or if you're just carrying it, if you're going for a picnic, perfect for that. But I wanted to be able to keep that top closed, so I will be putting snaps or poppers along the top there as well. So yeah, that's the beautiful bag we're going to be making in July. So in this lovely bag is my crochet blanket. So you've seen this before, but you haven't seen it for quite some time because it's just been in a bag, and I didn't forget about it, but you know, other things take over, don't they? And I just really wanted to do some crochet recently, so I've been back working on it. So this is a blanket that's going to be for Bryony. Now, let me show you where I'm up to. And then I do have 1 square here, 1 block ready to add in. So it's 3 of these blocks wide. It's quite wide, as you can see. It's 3 of these blocks wide. And then it's going to be, I think, 4 down. Or if I don't think that's enough, it might have to be 5 rows down. We'll see. And the one that I've just added in is this purple one. Isn't that beautiful? So that one was at a stage where I'd got the 4 squares crocheted and it was ready to add in. So that was what I just did. So the way that this blanket works, right, so it's granny squares. This is a block that's ready to add in. So what I do is I crochet 4 granny squares, in this case in all different shades of red, and then I border one of them completely with the white, and then I join as you go the other 3 to that one that I've just completely bordered in white. So it's join as you go. So once I've got this block, I will then add that block into the blanket. So it's actually going to go down here next to this yellowy one. So what I will do, if you just imagine that this block with the 4 grannies in it is just one big granny square, if you like, and that this then is one big granny square. So what I will do is I go round and do a complete round in white, and I've just thought I shouldn't have cut that actually. Never mind. So I will do a complete round in white, and then on that next round I will then do join as you go. So the way that I do that is I do one side to the corner, I will then join it and then carry on and finish the block. So I think the thing I like about this blanket is I'm not just doing the same thing over and over and over. So I will do my 4 granny squares, which is nice to do, and then I join those, and then I join it to the blanket. So there's lots of different processes, and it stops me getting bored. You know, if I was just crocheting a pile of granny squares, I might get a little bit bored. But this keeps my interest. And also the fact that each of the blocks is a different colour, I think is fun. And it's just as bright and as fun as I can possibly make it, because Bryony loves bright colours. And the plan is that she will have this on her bed at uni. She is moving into a new university room in September, and it's got a double bed, which she's thrilled about. So hopefully she'll keep this on her double bed. I don't mind what she does with it, to be fair, you know. She might want to just keep it over the back of a chair and use it to snuggle with, I don't know, whatever is fine. And what I'm doing is I'm using fingering weight yarns, but I'm holding them double. Here's the square that I've got ready actually. So I think the ones I was going to do is these 3. So my next squares are going to be green. I've got this one made already, which is a variegated, but I think it sort of reads green. It's green enough anyway. So I've used 20-gram minis, and I wind them, I split them into 2, and then I hold them double. So you're only actually crocheting the length of 10 grams effectively. And I've done, I think it's 8 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I've done 8 rounds, and that just leaves me with a little bit of leftover. And I like this size of a square, it's perfect. And the way that I crochet my squares, I've done a tutorial for this for our patrons, and I call it my perfectly square granny square. So there is a tutorial there, and I turn after every round. And I also do something else that's a little bit different, I think, because I don't like granny squares that are really, really gappy. I prefer them to be a bit more of a close texture. So I think maybe there's something else that I do that's a little bit different, I'm not sure. Everybody does granny squares a little bit different, don't they? Everybody has their own preferred ways of like starting them off, how to get the corners, all of those sorts of things. So they're all a little bit different, but I really love this one. So yeah, my next one's going to be green. I've got 1 square done, and then I've got these 3 greens ready to go. And they're all lovely, aren't they? A lot of my minis are from, because it's difficult to find really brightly coloured minis, I found. So a lot of them I purchased from Fox and Squirrel Creations. It's a UK-based dyer, and they're absolutely lovely. They're 75-25, 20-gram minis, and they do lots and lots of really lovely bright colours. I love this one, because I wanted some, some variegateds. I didn't want it to just all be plain colours. So let me pull some of these out, and I think all of these are from there. Look, they're all really bright and fun. So I'm going to get that red block crocheted in, and then I'm going to start working my squares for the green one. The good thing about this type of a blanket is I can sort of place the blocks in different areas. So I don't have to work it in rows, is what I'm saying. So like this is the top, isn't it? 3 across. And then, yeah, I've got 2 underneath it as if I'm following it in rows, but actually my next red one is going to go down here underneath. And you can do that with grannies, can't you? With the join as you go, you can join them at different places. So I'm finding that really useful, because I wouldn't have wanted to have put red next to that purple and underneath the pink. I wouldn't have wanted to do that. I want it sort of away from the pink in particular, so it'll be down here. And then the green one I can put here, I think, in this gap. And then when it's all finished, I think I want to do a really thick white border. I think that'll be fun. So I'll go round the whole thing, I think, maybe 2 or 3 times just with Granny. And that makes it sound like I'm taking my granny around the thing. And then I'll do some kind of a border, maybe a pretty little shell border, or I'll have a look and see if there's anything else. Is it crab stitch? What's that?
You having for lunch, honey?
Yeah, I'm not keen on crab, actually. I think I've seen people border blankets with, I think, crab stitch, and it's just this cute little thing, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what it is, so I might look into that. So that'll be fun. And the border colour is Cascade Heritage, just in white, the bright white, which is 5682. And so far I've used 1 whole skein plus a little bit more to get to the point that I'm at right now. And with this block, if I do it the size I'm intending to, once this one is in, it'll be halfway done. And I've got 2 100-gram skeins actually here wound up. So it might be that I've got enough with this, but my instinct is telling me that I'll probably need another one, especially if I do a really thick border. I think I'll need another one. But yeah, it's just Cascade Heritage in the bright white, again held double. And I'm using a 3.75mm Clover Amore, because again I like a denser fabric. I think with fingering weight held double, a lot of people might use even a 5mm hook or knitting needle if you were knitting. I wouldn't use 5mm for either, actually. Fingering weight held double, if I was knitting, I'd go with 4mm. If I was crocheting, I've even gone, a 4mm would have been fine, but I had a 3.75 and it was pink. So that's why I'm using that one. And I really like the sturdiness of it. And it's a lovely weight. It's quite heavy, and I think it's going to be a really nice, comforting blanket. So yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, and it's quick as well, Sometimes if you're working your way on through a knitted project that's taking you a bit of time, just picking up a bit of crochet and zipping along and making a few granny squares and adding them in and making a lot of progress really quickly. It's like, oh, that's lovely. I'm going to do that some more. So that's my pick of the projects.
Cool.
You can touch it if you want to. I don't mind.
I don't need to.
Okay.
I know you're not used to it, but I've got to what's off your needles. So you've got to do the segment.
Oh my god.
Or you've got to kick the segment off.
Okay. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's off your needles?
Well, there's a problem. Because I don't actually have it. But I do have some video, and here it is. It's the Feederbrook Farm yarns. It's the gorgeous yarn that looks just like handspun. It's phenomenal. I could not recommend it more. I knitted this hat for my mum a little while ago. I gave it to her. It fits perfectly.
It does.
And she's wearing it constantly.
Oh, is that what she said?
Yes. Could not be more of a winner. She sometimes gets confused and wears the other one that I knitted her.
She does.
But they're both hats that I've knitted her. So it doesn't matter.
Aww.
And she also still has, many years ago, long-term viewers will remember that I made a complete mess up of the wind sheaf.
Yeah, Stephen West hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also kept calling it the wind sweat.
It's Wind's Chief, I think, or Wind. Yeah, is it Wind's Chief?
Yeah.
I've said it too many times now.
It's a great hat, but I couldn't quite fathom out the pattern at the time.
No.
So anyway, made a bit of a pig's ear of it, but I still finished it, and she still wears that too. Yeah. She has many hats that have been knitted by me.
Luckily,
and
she's got like quite a
by you.
Yeah, she's got quite a small head, so it's useful for when hats come out too small.
She has the Old Man and the Sea.
Oh,
she has the Penguono.
Yeah, and I knit her another little waistcoat thing, which was called, was it Philomena?
Yes, that's it. I remember that.
In dark red.
Yeah.
And she wears them all the time.
So that is my second What's Off Your Needles for the year. But there's more to come, folks. Oh, yes. Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Because I have something too. I finished a pair of socks.
And they are gorgeous.
It's this pair that I showed you last time that I was raving on about.
They are utterly gorgeous. I love these socks.
I love these socks too. So I did manage to finish these while we were away, and I photographed them as I wanted to. And you will see why when all of that is revealed. But I love these. So I used Eden Cottage Yarns Milburn 4-ply, and I used 4 different colours. The main colour is Compost, and I just love this brown. It's just gorgeous. And then the 3 stripes, the top one here is, can I remember? Yes, I can. You see? Use your brain, people. Use it. You've got to use it at our age.
At all ages.
At all ages. So the top colour is Wicker. The middle grey is Steel. And then this soft bluish grey is Rain. And what I did is I've done a 12 round cuff, but I've done a bit of a fancy cuff here. It's got some texture in it. There's a reason for that, and it's part of the design, if you like. And then we've got some little skinny stripes up here on the leg and some thicker ones here on the foot. And it worked out perfectly because I used, I think it was 43 grams of the main colour, and then about between 6 and 8 grams of the contrast. This one at the top used more because you're casting on with it. So basically you can knit a pair of these socks if you had a 50 gram ball of this yarn, or any yarn with the same yardage, and then 10 grams of each of the 3 colours. So the reason I'm saying that is because I've decided that these socks are going to be the September Platinum pattern.
Amazing. So this is the next Platinum release?
This is the next Platinum release. The June one has just recently gone out, the lemon top socks, and I've seen people knitting those already, and that's just absolutely lovely. And I thought, yeah, because I just absolutely loved knitting these socks, and the theme and the name allows a lot of interpretation as to colours and what you could do with it. And I just like the idea of having 50 grams of yarn, because you might have a 50 gram leftover, might you? And then going in your stash and choosing 3 10 gram leftovers and being able to make yourself a pair of socks with this theme that you can adapt to your own kind of interpretation. I might be sounding like I'm being a bit mysterious, but I'll explain it all when you know it all comes out. But I just absolutely love them, and these will be going into my sock stash. But this Milburn 4-ply, if you've never used it for socks, I would really recommend it. It's really nice to knit with. It's a blend of wool and silk. It's BFL wool, so that's nice and strong anyway, isn't it? And silk, which is acting as the nylon, if you like. And it's just lovely. It knits lovely. It produces quite a robust feeling pair of socks, and they're lovely to wear. So yeah, they're all finished. So I'll be showing you these again at some point in the future. Yeah.
Exciting, and the excitement continues as we get back for the next and final part of this episode of My Perfect Socks.
Welcome back everybody to My Perfect Socks. So our main colour is now all done. It's time now to dye up the coordinating colour. So we're going to get to that, we're going to get it dyed up, and then excitedly it'll be time to sit down, we're going to have a chat about the socks, and then we're going to get to the knitting. Right, so we are on to our minis now. So I've got another pot here with, again, about a third of a a pot full of water with a scoop more of citric acid. So I've decided to go with the teal, because I don't think I've ever used teal just to dye a straight colour, and I'm interested to see what it's going to look like, so that's exciting. And I think with the main skein as well, I think the teal will just coordinate really nicely and give that vintage, slightly Christmassy feel. I think it'll be lovely. So here we go with the teal then, and I'm going to put in the colours that I've been dyeing through this series for the minis. Have turned out quite strong colours, so I'm going to try and keep that going. But we're going to start with just about 1/2 because I'm not sure the depth of colour I'm going to get. So let's start with 1/2 teaspoon. Oh, look at that. My goodness. That's fabulous, isn't it? Oh, that's so pretty. I kind of never want to stir it because it just looks so lovely, doesn't it? The dye just merging through the water. But let's give it a stir. Gorgeous sort of inkiness to it. It's lovely. So give that a good stir. Let's have a look. It's a decent depth of colour there. So we'll try that and see what it looks like. We can always add a bit more. Right, so let's grab our minis. So it's 2 minis as usual. Let's get these in and see what it looks like. Ooh, look at that. Lovely. So I'm going to put it down quite quick this time because we want a tonal, but we don't want it to be too tonal. And move and drop it straight back down. And just keep all the yarn in like that and just move it around. And you should find that it will disappear quite quickly. My water's not boiling hot yet. I've got the heat on, but it's not super hot. So it'll just take a second to absorb that in. And then we'll have a look at the depth of colour. My instinct is telling me I think I need a little bit more. But isn't it fun just to see that dye disappear? Look, it's pretty much gone now. So let's have a look at the colour. I think we're going to put a bit more in. It's a lovely colour, but I feel like it needs to just be a bit deeper. So what I'm actually going to do is take out, because there's a deeper side and a lighter side. There we go. So that the bit that's lighter is going to get more of it. And all I'm going to do this is just lift it up and drop in a bit more dye. So let's go with, I'm not going to put the same amount again in, maybe like 1/3 teaspoon. There we go. So drop a bit more in. Give it a stir around for a second. And then in it goes again, and we'll see what that does. Definitely looks richer. Oh, that's lovely now, isn't it? Because there's still quite a bit of dye in there. Oh, it's beautiful colour. Isn't that lovely? That colour is gorgeous. Right, that's definitely deep enough. So we now can stop faffing with it and just bring that up to the simmering point. Let it simmer away as usual, 5 minutes or so, and then we can pop it outside to cool down with our main colour. So that's our yarn all dry and ready to be knitted. So it's time now to get it skeined up and get that yarn on our needles. Okay, so here we go. Oh, it's so pretty. So we've got our minis, and I love that tealy blue colour. Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, it's so lovely. And the main colour is just perfect. It's this really deep creaminess, you know, vintage creamy sort of colour, slightly golden, but just really richly creamy, sort of like the top bit of clotted cream with all those lovely teeny speckles in. It's so lovely. So we now need to wind this because we can't knit it, can we, until we've wound it. And we also get to look at what this teal looks like with all of the other minis, so that's going to be fun. So let's just unfurl this. And there it is in the skein. So pretty. Okay, so we need to get this on the ball winder now. There's the outside of the thing, so we'll make it easier on ourselves and put the knot on the outside so we can cut it. There we go. Right. Oh, I'm trying to do this left-handed, which is awkward. There we go. Well, that went beautifully well. That's a very rare event, isn't it? But that just went so nicely. Oh, and this is lovely. I'm on that thing again. I'm going to say this one's my favourite. It just looks so pretty and quite delicate, actually. It's funny, you know, when you see them wound up and when it's dry as well. After it's dry, the colours sort of change. And the speckles just look so lovely. And it does have a festive touch to it, I think. You know, we could call this something like Victorian Christmas or vintage Christmas or something, and it would certainly look like that. So there we go, we've got our cake of yarn all ready. So of course we need to get those socks out and start knitting this into it. Very exciting. Right, so here we are then with our beautiful cake of yarn and our minis as well. Don't they look just lovely together? So pretty. So before we start knitting, should we have a little look at our minis all together and see where we're at with those? Shall we just do a little arrange? Oh, aren't they pretty? So red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So I think we'll slot, where should we? There, I think. Blue, indigo, violet. We haven't really got an indigo yet, have we? We might not get one, but if we just snuggle those up, look how lovely that's looking. Isn't that pretty? Really pleased with how that's looking. So pretty. So let's pop those in my bag to keep them all safe. And we're back to our lovely main colour today. So let's bring in our socks. So we've got, this is how we're looking now. It's so lovely, isn't it? And then we've got that orangey fall autumn inspired colour on the heel. So we're now just working our way down the foot. So it's just straight knitting, in my case for 9 rounds of this next colour. So I just get to knit 9 rounds on each of these socks, and I just whiz through it so quickly because I'm so excited to add the next colour in because I've had a little break from them. So it's just so fun. I've just realised we've got a kind of pink, purpley pink. So these 3 sort of go together. Green and green, gold and sort of gold. That's completely unintentional, but it's all working really nicely, isn't it? Right, stop waffling and let's get knitting. So I just cut my last yarn here, leaving a tail.
And all I do, pull out my needle, stick it in the first stitch, grab my yarn, leaving a nice tail to weave in, loop it over and just start knitting. And then I always grab onto that tail and away we go. Whoops. We'll probably get that kind of line again of slightly looser stitches because this has been sat on the needles. But don't worry if you've got that, if that happens to you as well, it will disappear once we give these a nice soak and a block when we finish them. So looking forward to having these socks. It's going to be such a special pair of socks, just thinking about our journey through this year and our dyeing expedition. It's been so fun. So I'm on the second side now. You can see I've almost finished the first round. And it's just a matter of knitting 9 rounds. The way that I count actually how many rounds I've knit, I don't use a clicker. I just count the number of rows under my needle. And what you have to do, I'll just show you. So we've knit 1 round, but you can see there's no rows under your needle in that colour because we've only knit 1 round and it's sitting on the needle. So if you want to just count what's under your needle, you will have knit, in my case, you will have knitted 9 rounds when you've got 8 rounds under your needle, because then that 9th round is here. So now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the previous colour. But before I started knitting this new colour, there would have only been 8 under my needle. So that's what I do. I just knit and then I have a look how many I've done. And when there's 8 under my needle, I know that I've knit 9 rounds. So there we go. I am all ready now. And what I do actually, to see the tail ends here, the 2 tail ends, as soon as I finish that first round, oh no, that's my tail. There we go. As soon as I finish that first round, these 2 tail ends, I tuck down inside. And then I go up inside my sock and I grab them and just make sure that I've pulled them down to join all of the others. There they are. There we go. And they're all now there sticking out and tidy, ready for us to weave in. I will show you at the end when I finish these socks, I will show you how I weave in. And if you look here where we've changed yarns, you can see there's a little hole here. The way that I weave in ends closes up that hole absolutely perfectly. So I'm going to show you how I do that once we've finished this lovely pair. So I am now going to knit away. I'm going to do 9 rounds on this one, cut my yarn, and then I will do 9 rounds on my second sock. Can't wait, very excited to get knitting this beautiful colour. So there we go, we are now off and running and knitting our next colour into our socks. And I'm just loving how these are turning out. Oh, I'm just so excited to wear them. I think I might save them. Did I say last time? I don't know, maybe I'll save them for wearing on Christmas Day or something. Might feel quite special, might it? But aren't they looking sweet? It's funny, isn't it, how, because I knit short socks now, you've probably noticed that for myself, I always knit short socks. And I think, because for a while, I wasn't really wearing my hand-knitted socks very much. And I couldn't figure out why. And I realised, I think I'd knitted a short pair. It was the short and sweet socks. I'd knitted those and I'd been wearing those and really enjoying it. And I thought, why is it I'm enjoying these and not so much other ones? And it was the length of the leg. You know, I just really like a short leg rather than a slightly longer one. And now I wear hand-knitted socks every single day. Isn't it funny? So I think, you know, if you think to yourself as well, oh, I'm not wearing my socks so much or whatever, it could be that it's just, you need to just think, oh, is there an element about it? It could be the heel that you're not liking. It could be the length of the leg. It could be the toe. You know, it could be anything really.
And it might be that if you just change something, you'll find that you fall back in love with wearing your hand knitted socks. So enjoy your sock knitting, and I will see you back next time for more of my perfect socks.
What a wonderful episode, and you have the gorgeous socks here, don't you?
I do. So here's the yarn again. Lovely little speckles in. Just gorgeous. And oh, that's my teal minis. I love that colour. And yeah, I've got the socks here. So I've put one of them on a blocker, so it will show a little bit better for you, and then I'll show you the other one. So here's where we're at now. Oh, it's looking so nice, isn't it? So that's the colour we've just knitted in down there. I'll show you it a bit closer. Just so nice. So that's one that I just popped on the blocker, but here it is a little bit closer up. So it's got those, the other side actually has got more speckles. Can you see there? Really lovely. It follows on so nicely from the Brinkley yarn. So I just love how these are knitting up. So pretty. Another scrappy sock, you see, I'm on a scrappy sock kick, clearly. So they're just coming along beautifully. And it's just been so lovely to see everybody's versions of these as well. I've seen lots of them popping up now, which is fantastic.
It's very cool. And My Perfect Socks, 8 episodes in, Kay actually started the year off with some back-to-back episodes. So My Perfect Socks is actually, it'll be away for one extra episode than it normally would. So I'm going to pick up and run with the baton. Kay's, do you remember? Did you do that at school?
Yeah, I hated it.
Did you? Where we had to tie it. You're like reaching forward, and you have to reach back while you run, and then they put it in your hand, and then you run.
My PE teacher was like sent from like some.
Most were.
Yeah.
So Kay's given me the baton, and now I'm running for a couple of episodes. Yes, it's going to be the most exciting couple of episodes because we've got the really amazing end to Britain the Stately era. It's got such an epic finale, and then we start the next series, the next historical adventure series of the year. It's a massive surprise.
Yes.
No reveals until next episode, because you need to see it to believe it.
You'll find out next episode.
Next episode you will find out. And rather than have you wait a whole month to then see the start of the series, I have a feeling that when you see it, you're going to want to see the series. You're going to want to see the first episode. So it will begin the episode after, which is super exciting.
That's very exciting.
It's very exciting. And now it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Oh yes, Kay's bought a couple of things.
Well, I bought one thing and I made one thing. So I've got the next instalment from the Pixie Yarn Club for this year. So I'm collecting these minis. This was the first one. So Sophie is running a club this year called the Roots Yarn Club, and it's based on her Cornish roots. So they're all based on themes, something to do with Cornwall. So this was the first one. And then I've just got the second one, and it follows on here. Isn't it lovely? So it goes through these kind of plummy colours into purple, into greens. And it's looking so nice. So I think I'm just going to collect the whole set. I know the next one I think is September, then it's November. So I'll have a full set by sometime in November, which will be perfect for Advent knitting, wouldn't it? And I've almost finished that Advent blanket that I've been working on. I will have that finished for next time. I've got some thoughts on it, but I've also had an idea for something else that I can do with Advent. So I'll talk a bit about that next time. So that's that. And then I've just had a birthday within the last couple of weeks, and I decided to dye myself up a skein of yarn. And I also dyed a skein of this for a lovely friend whose birthday was a few days after mine. So it was just a 2 skein, one of a kind, if you like. And I just really wanted a perfect pink colour with some beautiful little speckles. And I called this, just for me and my friend, I called it Pink Birthday Cake. And this is the skein I dyed for myself and for my friend. So it's this beautiful soft pink with these, can you see the delicate little speckles in there? Just lovely. So this will be a pair of socks for me at some point, I'm sure. So yeah, made myself a present.
Amazing. It's very exciting.
Thank
And
you.
it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Kay mentioned Lemon Top Sock. They're available now. They launched on the 1st of June. Summer of Stitching continues on the 10th June.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned earlier, that 100 Acre Blanket series runs through to the end of this month, and then we're straight into the bag making. And then the month after that, we're then into something else as well.
Yeah, in August we'll be doing some slow stitching.
Superb.
Yeah.
So 3 back-to-back superb Summer of Stitching courses. Our radio show is back next week, and we're going to be talking about winter solstice. I have never listened to it before.
Really?
Well, I've never even read it before. And Kay played it for me. So the episode is going to be us talking about winter solstice, how much we enjoyed it, but also it's going to be a review from my perspective of listening to my first ever audiobook. And Kay will also be chipping in
Have
with...
we filmed that yet?
No.
Oh, right.
Why? Did you think we'd done that?
No, you'd not mentioned it to me.
Well, I thought you'd like it.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like it?
I do like it.
Is it a
But
nice...
I was just started thinking, have we done that?
Is it a nice surprise?
I don't remember talking about that.
Well, I thought that you would enjoy it, so I just
No,
thought...
I will enjoy it. Yeah, that's true. It was the first time you've listened to an audiobook.
First time. So,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about audiobooks and the difference between an audiobook, but we're going to be talking a lot about winter solstice. And, Kay's said before about what she thought of it, but I shall be sharing my thoughts on winter solstice, which would be quite fun.
It'd be fun,
We
yeah.
did something similar with Pride and Prejudice when Kay introduced me to that. We did a
Yep.
radio show all about it, so thought it'd be fun to do the same thing with winter solstice. I know, it will be great, won't
That
it?
will be good. And we're listening to another audiobook now, aren't we? Which
We are.
is very fun.
Superb.
Yeah.
So yes, folks, we're breaking new ground in the history of the Bakery Bears because in all the years that we've done this, we've never been physically able to produce the series which take the most amount of research, effort, and all round sort of hard work are the historical adventure series. We started doing these. Really, it was COVID,
wasn't it?
When it properly kicked
Yeah.
off. Walking the moors, walking the dales, walking the wall. These series gradually then built up to Rise and Fall, which was a huge undertaking. We then moved into England, Castle Nation, Britain Stately era, but normally it's taken us a year in pre-production. But because of the way we work now, we've been able to produce 2 in 1 year. So I'm somewhat shattered right now, as is Kay, because we had the hardest filming schedule we've ever had before last week. All this to produce what I think you will think is the best thing that we've ever done, because
I think you all think that.
in every direction that we looked, you could literally film something gorgeous, and there was wonderful stories to tell also in every direction.
It's the most amazing place. Yeah.
So all that is to come, and it's all to come over the next couple of episodes.
And you'll find out where it is next time.
You'll find out where it is next time, and it will all commence the time after that. It's going to be wonderful. So for now, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you in
enjoy
2
your
weeks.
knitting, enjoy your crochet.
With a brand new show.
Bye. Welcome back. Do I say that?
That's fine.
Welcome back, everybody. Why are we keeping doing it? Oh, right, okay. I would make the most perfect pair of socks, I think. Here we go again. Knitting all these socks with all of these skeins. No, we do that, and
That's
then we
it.
do something else, don't we?
Okay.
Now, I don't know, I can't recall really that I've ever used teal before. Maybe I have. I have used it personally, I just mean with you here.
No.
Oh, no.
You got to go. No. From
Okay,
from
like that.
You got to do it in one.
Oh, I can't do it.
That's fine.
I'm sure we can wangle a pink into there somewhere, because we don't have a pink, do we? I guess, that's not really pink.